Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of the Fresh Creatives podcast. I'm your host, Trey Ram.
And I am Manning Moore.
And today, we've got another fresh episode for you guys. We're going to be talking a little bit about the work that Manning and I have done over the course of the past week. And then we're going to launch into a little discussion about our journey into art, what got us into it, what do we enjoy about it, things like that. And finally, we got a very interesting resource roundup with some cool artists that have released their work on the public domain.
I like it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Let's dive.
Manning, you want to get us started with the accountability corner?
Yeah, let's do it. So this past, forever, I've been taking this course, and I'll share it with everyone in the resource roundup. This course on compositing in Nuke. So essentially, here is the final shot. Right there. It's very pretty. Yay.
It's beautiful.
And
the shot is really cool.
And so it was a really fun project to do because I'm trying to do more in compositing. And this was a great, I don't know how many hour long course, but it was a really good course to dive into it. So let me show you my node tree. So this is my node tree right here. This was the one that I was following.
It's a little complicated.
It may look complicated. It's not too bad. And then let me show you the background. So here's the original comp right here. And then I just added in the Porsche after all of this. So it was a really, really fun and incredibly information heavy class. So I recommend anyone who is doing compositing, even if you're not doing it on Nuke. This is the non-commercial version of Nuke. Okay. So this is free. I was able to do all of it in this free program. I highly recommend doing this because it is so extremely good for compositing, learning what all is needed to make a shot more realistic, fixing CG mess ups that just happen, and then adding more realism to the frame, sweetening the look and all that. It's so good. It is really, really good. I highly recommend doing it. And yeah, it was just a really fun project to do. And I recommend it to anyone trying to do compositing. Yeah.
I mean, this end result looks great. If I saw this shot without knowing where it came from, I would think that Porsche was a part of the shot while they were recording it.
Yay.
So,
yeah.
And that's obviously the goal as a compositor.
Yes, that is definitely the goal. Yeah, I'm really happy with the shot. I think it turned out super well. And it was really fun to do. It was kind of stressful at times because you're not only do you like go in and be like, okay, how do I do this? And you follow along the tutorial, but sometimes things won't work. And you're like, oh my goodness, what in the world happened? And then you have to go in, you have to compare, and then it's like, oh, I didn't check this tiny little reformat checkbox. That was terrible. Or up here, this was annoying. I couldn't figure out in the project 3D node that I needed to hit crop, and then things would fix itself. Couldn't figure that out. So that was a little annoying and very, very Nuke specific. So there will be Nuke specific problems to figure out. But I mean, I figured it out. Learn more about Nuke. Now I am a lover boy of Nuke, and I'm ready for the next course to take. Yeah.
I think that those points of frustration tend to be just a part of the learning process where.
Oh yeah.
And those are sometimes where you learn the most lessons because you have to troubleshoot what's happening and figure it out yourself.
Absolutely.
Rather than blindly following a tutorial.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fun little puzzle. And, blindly following a tutorial, there's a time to do that, right? So let's say I'm
Yes.
completely fresh, okay? And to make me feel better going through this, I follow every single step, input every single color. Then I'll go back afterwards and kind of take what was said and then try and expand on it on my second round. So this was
Yes.
my
Well,
first round.
yeah.
I might do
It's
a
about
second
applying
round.
the knowledge that you learn.
It is,
You can't learn
exactly.
anything by not knowing or not knowing where to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
All right. That's it for me. What you got?
well, I have game. Same game that I was working on last week, and the same game I'll be working on for the next 2 weeks.
Ooh, bananas.
But so we've added some stuff to it. So we decided to add some bananas that the player can collect.
Okay.
And once the player collects enough bananas, they can send the bananas to the other player, and then those can interfere with that player's gameplay.
Look at the little monkey dies. Wait, is that a
So-
monkey or is that a ninja? Wait, what's
So the character on the left is a little cartoon style ninja, and then the character on the right is a little monkey.
that's freaking cute. I like that.
The textures have not been applied yet, but I can assure you that the textures look amazing.
Yes.
So this is the state of the game, and then we've just been focusing on getting it ready for the final build, which needs to be done in less than 2 weeks. So I've still got a ton of work to do. Right now, the
Sounds like
focus is just getting in the art assets to make sure that the game looks pretty, which you can kind of see here as a placeholder. It'll look really good once they're actually in the game.
I believe
So
it.
This is all I've been doing
Program.
recently.
Yeah.
Programming. And like I said before, I can't wait to get back to doing art.
You're not that big into programming.
I enjoy programming, don't get me wrong. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it for 8 hours a day if I didn't.
Sure.
But it is really satisfying to create art for me, and that's, where my passion lies.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in programming. I can do it, but it's not my favorite thing in the world all the time.
I get you.
But
Nice.
yeah.
Oh, little sideways tree there.
Yeah, I have those placed down as placeholders because I needed to test out something.
Gotcha.
So this is the state of the game.
You just play games
When it's
all
completed,
day.
you should be able to download
That'll be
it
fun.
on itch.io, hopefully. I can't confirm that it's going to be a AAA quality programmed game, but it'll be kind of cool.
Can you b-hop?
And you can play with a friend. No, you can't, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
I guess I need to spend 7 hours programming that into the game.
I think you should
I agree.
speed run it.
So that's the current state of my weekly project.
Nice.
I got to do a little more afterwards to get it working, and fix some bugs that have appeared. And Unreal Engine 4 just crashed,
Nice.
which has happened about 8 times today. So I'm really not sure why,
Yeah.
but that's been my life. Unreal crashing.
Thank you, Unreal.
Yeah.
I thought you
So
at your university were supposed to use Unity.
we can use whatever game engine we want. You pick the game engine. You just have to produce the game. In fact, you don't have to make a game engine at all or use a game engine at all. You can make an analog game, which is one group in our semester, which is what one group in our semester is doing.
Nice.
They're producing an analog game based on kind of SCP concepts.
Nice.
It's very, very
exciting.
cool.
Yeah.
So, well, so that I can take a break from programming, we want to talk about how we got into art, Manning.
Yeah, I think we should talk about how we got into art.
So why don't you start?
Okay, I'll start.
What are your origins in art, Manning?
My origins. Let's see. All throughout tiny little school, I always thought I was really bad at art because all the art that they teach you is drawing, which is not bad, right? Like I was always jealous of the kids that were super good at drawing, and I'd want to be like that, but I just wasn't. And then I got into, I don't know, a little bit older school, and I started making short videos with my brother. I got one of those little flip cameras. Do you remember those little vertical guys?
Yes, they
Yeah.
were not good, but they were fun for making projects.
Yeah, they were relatively cheap, and they came with editing software that was very cheap. And it was a really simple solution to making some videos, but it worked out really great. So I made a bunch of videos with my brother. They were awful, and I wanted to make them better. I was on YouTube watching, what was it, Smosh at the time? Because I was old enough to think Smosh was funny, or young enough to think Smosh was funny. And they always had like a really like higher quality style. Like their lighting was very bright and motivated, and mine just wasn't. And so I was like, oh man, I wonder how I can make all this better. So I decided to start going into film, trying to do filmmaking and stuff like that. And I really didn't do a whole lot until high school when I met you, actually, who was like, hey, I'm actually going to do films. And I'm like, oh, wait, let me grab on to you and I will make films with you. So we did a whole bunch of stuff together. We made an entire zombie movie. That was the most fun thing to be a part of. And that's actually the poster that's behind your head right now. No one can see it, but I can see it. So worked on a whole bunch of short films with you, did a bunch of stuff for school, decided, hey, I want to make this my passion. I didn't know where in filmmaking I wanted to be, but I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. So I went to school. I went to college for it, getting a digital cinema degree. And let's see, probably about sophomore year in, I've been watching a bunch of Video Copilot stuff, as a lot of VFX artists do. He mentioned Beeple, the artist Beeple, and I was like, oh, who's that? He said, I want to start doing these every days. I don't think he ever did those every days, or at least he didn't publish them. Wanted to do these every days like Beeple. And I was like, okay, who's Beeple? So I look him up, and he has made not only some of the most provocative images, but some of the most wild and trippy and beautiful looking images. And he's done one every single day for the past, I don't know, 7 or 8 years at that point. I think we're at year 10, 12. So I looked at him and I thought, wow, this is incredible. How does he do this? And the way he does it is he uses Cinema 4D and Octane and Photoshop. And I thought, okay, I know what Photoshop is, but what in the world is Cinema 4D and Octane? And so that was my introduction into 3D. And I watched as many tutorials as I could. I loved it. I thought it was incredible. I got into Blender a little bit too. There was a 3D class at my college that I took. Learned a lot of Blender. But yeah, I started doing a lot of 3D, which also mixes nicely with VFX. So the next 2 years, I started doing more VFX because other students didn't know any VFX, and I knew a little bit. And so if you know a little bit of something and no one else knows it, that tends to be what you do on most projects. So I became the VFX guy, and through school, I was able to get connected with my job now. The studio I work at was started by a couple of graduates from my school. And so I work there now, and they are some of the most incredible people I've ever known. My boss is fantastic. He is such an amazing person, and a great artist. And then our lead artist is such an amazing artist and also such a great person. And, just everyone that I work with is amazing. So, yeah, I don't know how traditional that is, getting started by watching a bunch of YouTube videos, getting jealous of YouTubers making content and deciding to make my whole life dedicated to making better YouTube videos and ended up becoming a VFX artist.
Well, hey, I mean, everybody has their own like path into the
Yeah.
into art. I mean, I think the thing that is amazing about art is that art is not one thing.
Yeah.
It's a multitude of things, and all of those things come together and for creative expression, right? Um, I guess for you, like, what kind of was it, or what is it now that still draws you to art? I mean, it's been 6, 7 years
Yeah.
since you started seriously doing creative stuff.
I mean,
Why do you still do it?
I would say probably my main driving factor is the desire to create something out of nothing, really. You know, a blank grid in Cinema 4D or Blender, a free node tree in Fusion or
Yeah.
Nuke, you know, and creating something. I mean, if we have a slow week at work, I come home and think, geez, I need to do something creative because I just didn't get my fix at work. And so I'll spend another 2 or 3 hours just doing something creative. So I guess at this point, it kind of feels like I am, I don't know, always having to get a fix on this side of me, this creative side, where it's not necessarily that I don't know, I choose to be creative or to continue down this road. It's more of I have to get this out of my system or I'm going to go crazy, right? I have to create something. I have to make art, or it doesn't even have to be art. I have to learn something creative. I have to do something. Otherwise I go crazy. So I guess it's more of a dependency at this point. Which I don't.
It's just become an addiction.
It's an addiction, yeah. Which, you know, good or bad, it forces me to continue to be creative, to constantly keep learning, and to keep doing. And you know, that's a big plus, I guess. There are times where I can't be as creative as I want to be, and that's not very fun. But overall, you know, I'm doing, and I love being creative. I love creating art. And if that's the kind of fix I need in order to be happy, fine by me. I'm okay with that. If I just
there are
need
definitely worse fixes in the world.
yeah,
that somebody can
absolutely.
have.
I'm addicted to creating art, and I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it always feels for me, if there's a time where I'm not creating regularly, and even if I am creating regularly, you know, um, I always kind of feel like at home whenever you start creating again, if you haven't done it for a while for whatever reason. Um, I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons I'm looking forward so much to the end of this project, this game,
Mm-hmm.
because it means that I can put my energy that I have every day, that my, you know, limited amount of energy towards creating art, which I just can't do now because I have other obligations that take that place for me. But like every day I'm like, God, I just want to work like 3 more hours on this thing, but I can't because I have to program.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'm going to fail the project. Right.
Sure.
I don't know. It's like a warm blanket kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can get into that zone and just, you know, put something together. For me, it's games, right? I love
Sure.
You put something together in a game world, and then you can walk around that thing. You can experience it in hundreds or thousands of different ways, right?
Yeah.
Different perspectives, or you can change the lighting or sound effects or whatever. And all of these things have an effect on the experience that you're having. And I think that that's just the cool thing about art, is you can make all of these experiences for people, or even an experience for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about the artist that released 90. So there's an artist recently that released a bunch of free assets, or a bunch of their art for free. And he's talking about this as an exercise or an experience in creative destruction. And that's the cool thing about art. It can be literally anything. I mean, yeah, art's cool.
Art's
That's all I
cool.
gotta say.
It's extremely
is cool.
subjective, but art is cool.
It is. I mean, what I look at as an artist and think, wow, that's not very good, and what other people look at as artists and think, wow, that's not very good, could be two totally different things.
Yeah. And that's, I guess that's like kind of the beauty of it, right? It is so very personal and specific to each individual person. And, you know, my wife and I, we are very different whenever it comes to what we think is art. And it's kind of fun to have those conversations. Because I'll look at something like, wow, can you see that? Can you believe that? That is crazy art. And she's like, what? That's a dot on a page. I'm like, no. It's more than that. It's because of this and this and this. And she's like, what? No, that's a dot on a page. By the way, I think wife, if you are listening to this episode and you can hear this, let me know. I don't think she listens to these.
Sounds like you're safe then.
It sounds like it. So this is kind of a challenge. If you're somehow watching this episode and you come across and you're listening this far in and you hear this, come and tap me on the shoulder or something. I don't know. Okay, keep going. What were you saying?
Better be careful.
I was very specific in the direction I tried to give.
Yeah. I think that's also creative. I think people that are regularly creative artists and things like that, and people that aren't tend to have a much different view on things. I mean, I have a similar experience. So I don't know if you know the art installation where the urinal was flipped upside down and put inside of an art museum. It's kind of like a popular one for people to say like, oh, modern art is so dumb. What the fuck? I could take a urinal off the street and put it in a museum. But it's from this movement called Dadaism, which was around like Germany following World War II, right?
Yes.
And when you think about it, I mean, yes, literally all I see is a urinal placed in a museum. And if I take it as just that, that's not cool. That's not interesting at all, right? But it's what that represents or what it meant whenever the artist created it. Obviously, anybody could do that. But it took one guy at the moment of Dadaism to think, wow, you know what? I'm going to give a big middle finger to the current art community and say, I can put literally anything in here and create art. And it's not about the actual piece. It's more about the meaning behind the piece. And this also makes me think of Walter Benjamin and work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction. He talks about how art has auras, or this sort of like story or history behind the piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more you are as an artist, the more you kind of appreciate that history or the story behind it, because really it's not the art itself that gives it meaning or really any value. It's that history behind it. And I think sometimes that can be hard for anybody to appreciate, especially if it looks relatively simple in terms of the art.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah. But of course, that's quite far from the discussion topic.
A little bit. Let's ring it back and let's hear how you found your art or got started in art.
Yeah. I guess my story is a little more tumultuous than yours is.
All right, let's hear it.
So when I was younger, I found my parents' old video camera, and I just started playing around with it. I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just having fun. And I remember watching stop motion videos on YouTube, and I was like, man, I always wanted to know how to make these, but they seem so complicated. And then one day my friend came over and spent the night, and he was like, yo, I know how to make these stop motion videos. And I was like, are you kidding me? You do? Dude, let's make some. And so we probably spent like 12 hours making stop motion videos while he was over at my place. We even put together this like really stupid behind the scenes video. It was great. And that sort of like sparked my interest in film. And I just kept doing it, right? So my parents, they were also really supportive, bought me some books and stuff. And I was creating films with my friends and things like that on tape cameras. And none of it was particularly good, but it didn't matter because I was enjoying it, right? And then in middle school, I made a couple of like short films with my friends, which you can find on YouTube, which they're very interesting as pieces of history, but they're not good as films. I can say that much. But yeah, and then I got to high school. I was studying film, or I was studying television, I guess. That was the only class our school had. And I don't know, in high school, things changed for me in terms of like my passion with film. And I sort of fell away from being really passionate about film and started being more passionate about games. Because while I was also doing film, I had been learning a little bit about Blender. And I can't remember how I got started in 3D or Blender, but I do remember the first tutorial I ever watched was a 2.5 or 3 hour long tutorial by Andrew Kramer from Blender Guru. I think it's Andrew Kramer, right? Or is that Video Copilot? I always get these guys.
Andrew Kramer's Video Copilot. Andrew. Oh, geez, Australian Andrew. Crap, what's his last name?
Andrew
Price.
It's not Andrew Price. It's Andrew Price?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Andrew Price.
So it's like a 3 hour long Blender tutorial from this guy. And I did it. I went through all of it. I didn't understand anything, but I did it. And I fell in love with that process of creating 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And so off and on, I would do 3D for a long time, right? And then high school ended. I was still doing film. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Everybody was like, you have to go to college. I didn't really want to go, but I was like, okay, whatever. People are telling me I have to, so I'm going to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I went to a school to study film. And I was studying it, and I was enjoying it. But even while I was studying film on the side, I was still doing video games, right? Like, I produced a couple of like 3D environments while I was at university that are to me were really cool. I enjoyed making them. I made a couple of games that were super weird, and I would literally stay up all night working on these things sometimes. And throughout those 2 years at university, I was just thinking to myself, this is really not where I want to be. Like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in the film industry. I feel it's not for me. And so in my second year of studying, I wanted to drop out of college, but my mom is very much, you need to stay in college and get a degree, right? And because of this, I didn't want to drop out unless I had an idea of what I wanted to do. Because it is a bad idea to drop out of college if you have no plan.
Right.
And one day I was playing The Last of Us because I had found a way to play The Last of Us on my PC through a PlayStation streaming service. And I was playing it, and I was just looking at the environment more than actually playing the game. And I was sitting there and I was like, damn, this is what I want my life to be. Like, I want to create environments for games, you know? Like, I've already been doing this in the past. I love just looking at these environments. This is for me. And so I made the decision. I told my parents, I told everybody, I'm dropping out of school. Like, I'm dropping out and I'm going to become a 3D artist in the game industry, which sounds ridiculous, right?
A little bit.
And I knew like I was not going to get financial support from my parents for this decision. I was not going to get a degree, anything like that. But I mean, I was totally okay with that because I knew that's what I wanted to do. However, I promised my mom I would still look for colleges to return to because I knew it would make her a little happier, even though I had zero intention of doing this. Mm-hmm. My intention was to just get a job and not worry about what my mom thought. But I decided, you know what? I should at least look for colleges, right? It'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
But it has to be a college or an offer or an experience so good that it's impossible to refuse. Like, I'm not applying to some janky American college where I have to spend an arm and a leg to study and get a subpar education. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not doing that again. I already did it once. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And so I started researching, and I found this school in Germany called the Cologne Game Labs. And I was like, yo, this seems really cool. Like, it's a small program. They have game art specific tracks. You can apply, and best of all, it's free. there's no tuition fee. So it's like a no-brainer, right? If I could get into this school, I'd be golden.
Yeah.
So I applied. It was a month-long application process, very stressful. You had to produce a concept for a game. You had to go through a series of interviews. But I was selected to study in Germany, and that's where I'm living now, doing art, studying in Germany, hanging out with foreigners. I don't know.
Foreigner. You're the
It's not a
foreigner.
bad life. Yeah, I guess you're right. I am. I didn't think about that one.
Oh man, dude, I very clearly remember you telling me that you're leaving KU to do games, and I was like, "What? We're not gonna make movies together anymore?" Like, I was very selfish in my response to you.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a different discussion, but college in America has a stigma behind it, and dropping out of it does too.
Oh yeah. Oh,
There was
100%.
the only person who was kind of okay with me dropping out was my dad, because he thought
Oh,
me
yeah.
going to college in the first place was a bad idea.
Did he go to
But
college?
outside, he did go to college, but he just didn't think it was a really good path for me,
Sure.
or the one we had chosen was stupid.
Yeah.
But everybody else I talked to, professors, my mom, most of my friends were pretty supportive.
Oh well. I mean, I was along
But
with you that
it's a
whole
big step.
process.
It's a big step.
Yeah, I remember that month long. You were stressing out about your application, and then I remember you sending a whole bunch of screenshots of your game concept, and that
Yeah.
was really cool to see the change happening there. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that was a really fun process.
it was so cool to see, your excitement grow in this, because like you said, you weren't super into wanting to go to school anymore, and then this came along, and then you could like tell a huge shift, like, oh, this might be something I want to do. I want to go to Germany. You started studying German even before you started any application, and you applied. I remember going through all of that with you, and just being so excited and hopeful, and boom, you're there. You got it. Are you
So
you're the
how's
only
your-
American?
No, there was one other American at my school, but he was working as a teaching assistant, kind of.
Okay.
It's a little different here in Germany.
Okay.
But unfortunately, his position wasn't renewed with the new budget, so he had to leave the school.
Damn.
So at the moment, I'm the only American in my in my school.
Yeah.
I don't know about the entire university.
Yeah. Still, that's pretty cool. That's a special thing. So from the outside
It is.
looking at you, it was a bold thing to decide to leave college in the America, especially with all the social stigmas around it, and then even bolder to change direction and decide to apply to a single school in Germany, in hopes of pushing further. Was it one school?
I applied to a second school, but the school was really bad, so I didn't even finish that application.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, you were so dead set on things, right? And you're good at, putting your mind to something and just freaking doing it. And so that's 100% what you did, and it really just kind of renewed my appreciation for the kind of person that you are. And it's yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool to see that whole process of you doing that. Not even, middle fingers to the social stigmas around it, and then turning around and just kind of paving your path, because we don't know anyone in the game industry. We don't know, or at the very least at that time, we had no idea. I knew a couple of people in film, but you had no connections to the game industry, and deciding to do that, and then carving your path into that industry, it was really cool to see. You're a very dedicated person, and that's awesome.
I don't really know what to say.
can say thank you, Manning.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
However, yeah, that was unexpected.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
we're out of time.
I think that's all the time that we have. Otherwise, you have to go to work soon.
Yeah, I gotta go to work.
And we won't be able to show you all the amazing resources that we found for you guys this week.
Yes. We have some really awesome resources. Do you want me?
Let's see them.
All right. So let's start with this one. I found this last night at like 12 o'clock at night because that's what I do. These are some really cool high res moon textures, which is awesome. And when I say high res, I mean the ones that you can purchase are 16K 32-bit res photos. I mean, these are detailed as hell. So,
wow.
This guy right here makes some incredible stuff, all in Blender, which makes it even cooler. So definitely, yeah, I'm subscribed to this guy because he's so cool. And the work that he makes is so cool. So follow him. And right down here, he has free 8K versions of it, which I'm going to download and mess with because that's amazing. And then
have fun with your computer.
Yeah. And then he has a 16K version that you can purchase for just $15. And I recommend that too, because one, this guy, Mantisa, is an incredible artist. He makes some beautiful work, and he does it in Blender. And who doesn't love the Blender community, right? So spend a little $15, get these high res textures, and then maybe in the next 5 or 10 years,
you'll be able to make
you can do it because processing power costs a lot of money right now.
Yes, it does.
So definitely check this out because it is amazing. It is beautiful, and at the very least, he has free 8K versions, and that's really cool. Plus, he has a whole bunch of other stuff on his website. So definitely check this guy out. Please do. Next thing I have, I don't know if I've recommended this before. I may have, and I just am really forgetful. But this right here is Maxon 1, which is, I don't know if you know, of the past 2 or so years, Maxon has been buying a bunch of stuff. So they're the guys that create Cinema 4D, and they bought Red Giant and they bought Redshift. And so this Maxon 1 is all of those products together, which is really cool. So the price is a little on the side if you're not, if you're not doing freelance work and can dedicate a portion of your budget to this. It's $100 a month and it's billed annually, so $1,200 up front, which is quite pricey. It is a little pricey until you kind of look at it from a complete perspective, because Red Giant itself costs a lot of money, right? It does. And then Redshift itself doesn't cost a lot of money, relatively speaking. I think it's like $500, and you just have it. But then again, you need to have the 3D system to run it on, right? They don't have Redshift for Blender. And Redshift has become pretty much more or less the standard for commercial 3D and motion graphics because it is so custom amazing. And then Cinema 4D pretty much is the standard for motion graphics. So getting all of that together, plus the coolness that is Red Giant, you get the complete Red Giant, is really great. And so this becomes a lot more feasible. I mean, if you freelance and you make a good amount of money, this right here is the greatest buy you can probably get, because it includes your renderer, it includes your 3D system, and it includes an amazing set of post plugins that you probably won't need any other plugins for. So it's a great all-in-one system if you're doing that. If you're not, I wouldn't recommend it. But for some people that, if this is the path that you're on, this is really kind of impressive. People don't like subscription models, which I understand. I also don't like some subscription models, considering, let's see, I pay for Adobe, and it's annoying, but I use Fusion because it's a much better compositor. And I also use Resolve because I actually bought those programs and it's mine forever. And I like having that way more than not. So I
completely agree.
There's a definite give and take. But if you kind of live the fast freelance style, this is a really good purchase right here. Okay, next is, speaking of Fusion, if I mention this a lot in my tutorials because this is one of the most insane things that is with Fusion. Fusion has an incredible community. Okay, it's almost like Blender in a way. And this right here is a plugin called Reactor. And if anyone knows anything about Fusion, you might have heard of Reactor, which is pretty much a plugin hub. But not only is it a plugin hub, it's a free plugin hub. So let me start Fusion real quick. It is one of the most insane plugins ever for anything. So let me show you what this is. And it's super easy to install. Here's Reactor. It's super, super easy to install, and I highly recommend doing it as soon as you can. Let's see, I just showed my lead artist all the Fusion Reactor plugins that I use. And he's like, oh my gosh, there's so much. So here's Reactor. These are all plugins and tools that you can use and get, and they are incredible, amazing, and most of them are free. Okay, most of them. So heat distortion. Let's take this one. Heat distortion, famous from Video Copilot, right? This guy made a free version of it, and it's easy and simple to use, and I love it. It's amazing. Let's see what else. Kick-Ass Keyer. It's basically an all-in-one keying node, and it's free. It's free. Let's see. What are all of these? Loaded from Saver. Super useful. I mean, these are all amazing regrain nodes, and they're all free. All of this stuff is pretty much free, and it's an amazing thing. If you do a lot of compositing, I highly recommend getting this, looking at their huge list of plugins that they support, and just downloading them and using them because they are so cool. Let's see, what, Denoiser Ultra? I'll try that. That sounds awesome. And yeah. It's like installed. It's almost installed. So I highly recommend getting Reactor for Fusion because it is so cool, and it does work on the free versions of Fusion if you are doing that. And I think they have one for Resolve Fusion, or I think it's called Duh Fusion now because Fusion is inside of Resolve. So highly recommend getting this because it's free and it's amazing. Okay.
That sounds great.
Yes. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is this course, which is the one that I did for Nuke. Yeah, this course right here. It's great. It's fantastic. Highly recommend it. Please do it because it's good. Okay. And then I want to hear from you talking about this one right here.
Yes, there's this artist, and I'm going to butcher their name, Stefane Richards, who released 90 gigabytes of his art to the public domain. So this means that it's completely free for anybody to download, use, modify, whatever, right? And that is, one, it's amazing that it's 90 gigabytes of art. That is insane. That is so much.
Yeah.
And that it's free in the part of the public domain. But I also really recommend reading through this Spark page that he created about this because it's a very interesting and reflective experience about the act of creative destruction, which sounds very kind of counterintuitive, right? Creative should be creating, but it's that act of destroying to create something better, right? Mm-hmm. And how he feels that this is really needed in the world right now because obviously it sort of feels like our world is not doing very well. There's a lot of unhealthy parts in it, and it feels like those unhealthy things are growing stronger every day. So he says that if these things are going to change, we need to come together, collectively be creative to solve these problems rather than allowing ourselves to fall into the ruts of thinking in a very narrow angle for the future. So it's really, really great. The assets are beautiful. His artwork is beautiful. So download the assets if you have the space on your hard drive, and enjoy this page as well. It's a really interesting thought experiment.
Yeah, that's so cool. I need to read this. I'm very excited to read this. And I already sent it to our lead artist because this stuff.
Hopefully he likes
Hopefully
it. Sounds like
it.
he will,
Yeah.
based on what I've heard.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's our show.
Yeah, that's it for today.
Awesome. Thank you guys for checking it out and watching and sticking to the end. If you like this, please feel free to subscribe. We are trying to grow our community here and get viewers because we like sharing our knowledge. We like sharing the resources we come across. And we did this whole thing just kind of as a community to give back, right?
Yep.
And it's super fun to do, super fun to make. So yeah, if you like this, please subscribe. We release one every week, and it's been really fun to do. And yeah, we're on episode 10, which is really cool. I didn't think we'd get really this far without kind of not sticking to it.
Stops and starts, I guess.
Yeah.
It's been relatively consistent.
Yeah.
We had a break over Christmas, but that's because of Christmas.
That's because of Christmas, yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, close this out.
From us at the Fresh Creatives Podcast, good morning, good afternoon, good night, and goodbye.
That was close. That was a close one.
What?
It was almost. You almost did it.
Is it good evening?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, whatever. By the way, you weren't sharing your screen for the entire resource roundup, so